Welcome to the Buy Box Bandits podcast.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Buy Box Bandits podcast. Fantastic news for you guys listening to this within the first 6 weeks of this episode being live. Back to school is here. Again, a lot of questions about it in my DMs. Stuff starting to pop off. School supplies, office supplies, calculators, crayons, backpacks, a lot of clothing, a lot of sneakers, a lot of stuff like that starting to really go up in price. And last year, Makayla, FBA Makayla, who's joining us today, was really able to break out and crush and really grow during back to school. And it was the same way with Garrett and I 2 years ago. So we figured this was, a good place to start, basically. But Makayla, thanks for joining us. For anyone who's not familiar with you want to give us the little kind of, 1 or 2 minute breakdown of your story, all the medical school stuff, everything like that, and we'll get rolling then.
Yeah, so I actually started reselling about 2 years ago now. I was buying consoles and some sneakers, some GPUs and stuff, and then I started my eBay store about 3 or 4 months later. Obviously, the crash with the GPU market and people were just getting consoles left and right, so my eBay store kind of fell off, and one of my friends actually had an Amazon store. The first time I actually started selling on Amazon, I quit because I couldn't get engaged, and I thought it was like this really hard process. It really wasn't at all. It wasn't at all, but and then I was like, well, maybe I can find some other stuff to do, because I was on medical deferment because I had surgeries from previous injuries, and so I couldn't go to medical school at that time, and I couldn't work a traditional job. So I was like, man, I have to figure out a way to kind of make some money to pay off my student loans. So then I cycled back through to Amazon again about a couple months later, and I was in a tiny little mentoring group with one of my botting, like one of the botting discords that I was in. And yeah, pretty much from there, I've grown. I did 1.3 million in my first year, and I'm on track to do hopefully double that.
Sweet.
So back to school is, September, August, November, that area. When your second time around, did you start taking it more seriously? For context?
I took it a lot more seriously whenever I started seeing like the results, and that was during back to school. When I hit my first like 10K month in profit, that's when I was like, okay. And before this, actually, I was planning on going into medical school, and I was probably doing like 2,000 or 3,000 in profit a month. And like, that was good at that time, but it wasn't anything that was considered like a full-time job. But then like my ankle was messed up again, and I had to have surgery again. So then I kind of just like took the leap before I really had like solidified results. And then when back to school happened and I did my first 100K month and I did my first 10K in profit, that's when I was like, this is when I really need to take this seriously and kind of make it work, because if not, I'm going to do something that I don't like.
Right.
Yeah, and that's like the perfect motivator for this stuff. And I think a lot of people don't conceptualize how much it would suck to sit there legitimately for decades and do like
40 years. Yeah.
So much easier to work hard on a business, right? And you know what I mean? Like, we're pretty lucky. Like, a lot of the stuff is pretty fun, especially when you do it with your friends, right? Because it's a lot of the work, for like a mature online arbitrage business is just kind of like talking to your friends about stuff, like, you know what I mean? Besides checking out and everything. But yeah, I think that's a really powerful motivator. And I use that stuff in my own, all the time, in terms of navigating it. To give some like direct tactical context, could you walk through, like, I did my first 10K revenue month this month, first 100K revenue this month, just to get some context for people who maybe haven't heard our prior episodes we've done.
Yeah, I did 10K my first month, and not in profit, but in revenue. And then I think it was my 5th month. I did my first 100K month, and then my first 10K profit was my 5th month. And then, like I said, by the end of my 12 months, I did 1.3 million.
That's fire. Yeah. And then what does the current operation look like?
Right now, I'm doing a ton of FBM, so like my numbers aren't as strong as they once were, and I'm also diversifying my income streams and putting profits into. I'm actually getting ready to close on 2 houses next week.
Did you say are not or are? Are not as strong as they once were? Are
no, they're not as strong. No, they're not as strong. No, I've been focusing on a lot of other different business
You're doing a lot of
opportunities
cool
as
stuff,
well.
though.
Yeah, seriously. And that's the thing. It's like knowing how to do this stuff spreads into all that. You can't buy houses if you don't have cash flow, right? You can't start doing wholesale if you don't know how to do OA for the most part, right? You know, you can't open a prep center like you've been able to do too if you don't have the connections in the community, right? Like you invented the modern box picture, I would say, for sure. I figure we could definitely give credit where credit's due on that. I would say, you know,
that's funny.
Because we used to do box pictures back in the day, but we wouldn't be in them, right?
You gotta be.
And it's like we see that they're stacked up, and then you got the ankle brace on too.
Oh yeah,
I do remember that.
Yeah,
Jimmy has a pretty iconic box picture that goes around.
He does.
It's always the same one in circulation.
Facts. I know exactly the way because that's back when he was doing his own prep too.
Yep.
Cool.
So-
Okay, so yeah, let's dig in. Okay, so back to schools right now. So people who are listening, a lot of people listening who haven't had that first breakout month, right? How do we go ahead and do that, right? What types of products are people selling? I figure we should start there, right? It's exactly what you think it is, right? Crayons, calculators, office supplies, anything kids would buy or parents would buy for their kids, shoes, clothing, backpacks, stuff like that. One thing I've been seeing from a lot of people is actually, outlets, some of these discounted local stores, retail arbitrage, buy, pick up, list today, FBM, sell today, learn quite literally a month quicker than someone else who buys a product online, who sends it into FBA. It's not available for 2 or 3 weeks, and you had to wait a week potentially for it to come in. That person who went in store for retail arbitrage, sure, they took more time to do it and go and drive there and, scan stuff with Seller Amp, things like that. But did they really spend more time, or do they save a ton of time because they learn weeks quicker getting the feedback from purchase? I would argue the other way, right? Because all of us, especially when we're new, we were kicking ass with FBM. This is a big thing, basically. I'm curious your guys' thoughts on that, and just like, where should people be looking? Like, what are the strategies people should be using?
Definitely FBM right now is. I honestly, I think I get so much hate and crap for doing FBM because everyone's like, that's just too much work and all that crap. And I'm like, well, whatever.
Yeah, but those are the people that
who's opening prep center. You know what I mean? Like, it's very
yeah, exactly. I made like 30K last year just doing FBM. So
I completely agree. That is by far the best thing you can be doing. And like, it takes a little bit more time in the micro, but it saves you a ton of time in the macro because you get to learn a lot quicker, right? Because you get feedback on a purchase a lot quicker. So I'm like super happy, but I'd say even nice. Like, I'm just looking at like some lists. I'm just generally like seeing more FBM people on it from like a purely like an individual developmental perspective. That's like good. One, people are willing to be working harder. That's good for the world, right? But two, they're also making more money and they're moving quicker on stuff, right? If you can like decrease the time you take action on something, right? Just going to pay off in like all areas of life basically on that. But yeah, Gary.
Makayla, how did you start to identify some of the products that you went deep on last year? Because I do think coming into back to school this year, I think there's just more content in terms of proactively sourcing, right? That's something that Miles and I have been harping on a bunch the past couple of weeks and really month. But last year, I don't necessarily think there was as much context and content in terms of finding some of these products. So take us back to last year in terms of like tactically how you went to like find the products that you ended up doing super, super well on.
So last year we had. Were you in the group last year, the back to school group, the text message chat we had?
It's still going. We were talking in there yesterday. We were talking.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was. I don't think I was.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were.
Miles created it, and then we all just kind of fed each other. So like when there was like a coupon we wanted to use, we all like went ham. We got the famous footwear code.
Oh, yep.
Taken down.
Oh, that was back to school. That seems like a couple months ago. Holy smokes.
That was it.
Time flies when you're having fun, man. Time flies when you're having fun.
Exactly. So, just having the network of people honestly was what kind of fueled me. And then like I just took like one of those ASINs and then just built upon those, like just kept searching similar items. And then I got led to another category that I didn't even think about, and then another category. So kind of just like branched off, just going down rabbit holes essentially.
And that's the thing that Miles and I were talking about on stream last night. The adjacent products and adjacent sellers, you can learn so much from, right? Being on one product, whether it's profitable or not, it can lead you to so much information. Like that one box with all the sellers in it, that has so much information. Thousands of warm leads, thousands of warm products that theoretically have been filtered in some capacity, right? Because they likely aren't selling it if it wasn't profitable at some point. So just in that one, couple inch square box of sellers, that has extraordinary amounts of information, even if that first product wasn't even profitable.
Yeah, and there's a good mental reframe too, that like when you Google something on SellerAmp or when you see something in someone's catalog, right? Like they're doing that stuff to make money, like you were saying,
Uh-huh.
right? And especially when you Google it and you can see the websites that a product's carried on, for the most part, right? If it's like an arbitrage friendly item, Under Armour, Converse, Adidas, like a lot of stuff that's mainly OA, right? There's a good chance it's coming from those websites that you're seeing in the Google shopping box, right? Now, how do we make that stuff profitable though? That's where all the money is.
Yep.
I think like one of the biggest things people struggle with is thinking stuff is just going to be profitable at the price that it shows at on Google Shopping. Once you Google something. Now, I don't want that to be the case because then other people are going to be able to find that. I want to dig into the nitty gritty, right? I want to find the specific discounts, like the famous footwear stuff we were talking about last year, and everything, because I know other people aren't going to get that, and that's going to remove competition on my products. And then it's like if you're doing this stuff, on your own, you're not really talking to other people the way we always have been since day one. Like I remember you had the FBA Makayla page in probably April of last year, right? That's like
Yeah.
super smart and long-term thinking. One, because now it's cool for you to be able to go ahead and look back on that. But two, from day one, that's been able to build you leverage and that people are coming to you to talk about this stuff, right? Which is what almost no one has, but the people that have it make all the money. Luckily, it's completely free to put that infrastructure in place for yourself. So it's like a really interesting thing. And everything. But yeah, I completely agree. Like that's always been the biggest thing for me, like having that group chat, right? Being able to bounce ideas off of people, being able to get feedback about different stuff, getting really, really tactical here. I think another really, really good thing a lot of you guys listening can go ahead and do is go on Keepa Product Finder and search for your favorite brands, right? Or like certain keywords, soccer, football, right? Those products are popping off.
Backpacks.
Right
You can even search by the text in the title.
text field. Yeah. So you can do the brand field, the category field, the text field, right? Garrett, you have like a really good YouTube video on that, right? On KPF.
Yep.
Right. Cool. Yeah. So what KPF allows you to do basically, and what's interesting is I didn't even know how to use it till like 3 months ago. I always thought it was like too complicated.
Keep a product finder is something I've been putting out content for a very long time.
And I just now realized I should have been doing it all along. And luckily I was coddled to have you guys from day one to help me with stuff. That was what led it to me not needing to do that all along. But I think that's a really, really good thing because what you can do with Keepa Product Finder, right, is you can plug in 0 to 100,000 sales rank, Amazon out of stock, a buy box price minimum or a low price minimum or maximum, right? You can plug in, I only want products that have 0 to 10 sellers, but that have a 90-day average of 15 plus, right? So that way I'm looking at only stuff that's going down in competition. And then once you place that search, and a lot of stuff probably not going to make sense to watch Garrett's video on it, right? Anyone listening, you can go ahead and filter to what's going up in price. So forget asking what type of products are good. All we care about is data. Keepa is going to tell you what's doing best because if something's going up in price and going down in competition, people are making money on it, right? And if the price is stable, we know people are making money on it, right? Because logically, that's the only reason people wouldn't drop their price, basically.
Yeah, and then to take that even further, what you can really do, if you find a backpack listing that was good last year, right, you could even filter back the buy box rotation 365 days. And so you could see the sorts of sellers that were selling it at that premium last year, right? And so as it being that we're in that sort of money time frame now, especially if you're willing to do FBM, you can keep an eye and keep tabs on those sellers that were doing it and taking part last year. And the theory is that they're probably going to at least be looking at that sort of stuff this year. And so you can act on that stuff super, super quick. All it takes is like 5-6 backpack listings to not necessarily buy those backpacks to be connected to 15, 20, 30 sellers that were doing it last year. And there's a chance that out of those 30 sellers, a couple of them, 2, 3, 5 of them are probably doing the same thing this year. And then you have all that information at your fingertips.
Or, right, if they were doing backpacks last year and now their store's full of like grocery and beauty items, that's probably working better for them. So that might be wholesale stuff to go ahead and take a look at, right? Like we all can learn so much from other sellers, whether that be, on Zoom calls, like, we're technically on one right now, and such, group chats, being in the community, or just looking at what they're selling. Right. And then reverse engineering it. I know if this product's carried on a bunch of these websites, they've got to be getting it profitable somewhere if they came into stock a week ago. Right. So now I just have to figure out the discount codes, whether that be messing around on Google, hitting up the customer support, talking to other sellers in a Discord, right? Like these discounts exist and you can find them. You just got to like, go out and do it. And then, there's certain discounts we were talking about 2 years ago, Garrett. I remember being really nervous that like it was going to go away tomorrow. Someone like I'd like send a lead to a coaching student yesterday that like that they used that coupon. It's like crazy. We're literally 30 months later in terms of stuff we're taking a look at basically and everything. What were some mistakes you made last year with back to school, Makayla? And then I'll go into some I've made too.
I think my biggest mistake is not having the right shipping supplies whenever you're getting ready to do like FBM. I did do like FBM before back to school. So like it wasn't like I was like completely new to it, but I had not done it at that caliber. Like people don't realize the amount that you're going to be doing for back to school compared to regular times. It's way different. So like I underestimated, I guess, the caliber this was going to be. So I didn't order nearly enough supplies. And I had to use some stuff that I didn't want to have to use. Like I went to the UPS store and had to buy like bubble mailers, which are really expensive. They were like $2.
Yeah.
Like $2 a bag. And like if you go on to like Amazon, they're like 50 cents max a bag. So it's like,
well, that's the thing about a lot of the shipping supplies is you can't pick them up locally,
which is
super weird.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. So like this is just good beginner training for people in general, right? So your 4x6 labels for your Rollo printer, you got to be getting those for free from UPS. You can search UPS free shipping supplies. They're going to let you order one through the website, and then you're going to email them and give them your account number. They're going to send you unlimited. They're going to look like giant rolls of toilet paper. It's honestly pretty good banter. Right there. So that's for FBA. Your F and SKU labels, which are going to be for FBM, just get those on Amazon. And then so for FBM, right? Poly mailers, 9x12, 12x16, 19x24 from Amazon. Just go buy 50 of each right now, and then you'll restock as needed right there. Boxes, where are we getting boxes from for like shoes and such?
I try to recycle, not any branded,
not
just plain brown.
Very true.
Plain brown.
Yeah. So that's some serious sauce right there. So if the box says Walmart, unfortunately, don't use it. But certain of these retailers will send unbranded box. Foot Locker especially is one of them where they send pretty nice ones right there. So yeah, recycle when possible. And definitely.
Would you not send shoes in one of those non-terrible bags?
Well, so now here we go, right? So I mean, I think anyone with a brain would. However, I ordered basketball shoes from Amazon just because it was good banter. I knew I was overpaying. It's like whatever. I was like genuinely curious the process, and they send me them in a polymer. So that means a lot of the boxes, a lot of sellers are worrying about making sure they're perfect when they send the FBA are actually just being fulfilled to customers in poly bags, honestly. So it's an interesting reframe because like
I always used to ship them in bags in the way beginning when I did choose.
We did so much stuff that was reckless back in the day.
Yeah.
And especially like the stuff without box lids, it's like, dude, it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? But it's like you shouldn't be doing it the vast majority of the time. But it's like one or two things.
It's funny as your career in Amazon goes on. Like once you start, you're like completely straight edge by the books. Like you're tiptoeing. You're walking
not polybagging certain product, like whatever.
And then as the months and years go on, it's like, I can get away with that. I can get away with that. Oh, one authenticity. I don't care about that. You know what I'm saying?
It's easy to beat too. Yeah. I just beat one. Actually, I just got a message from someone that they beat one as well. With that, but I'd say definitely another major thing. I'm curious your guys' thoughts on this. Are you doing 0-day or 1-day handling time, Makayla, to get more buy box share?
I actually switched it to 2 days because I was getting way overwhelmed. I was sending out like 200 boxes a day kind of thing.
Is that currently or last year?
No, that was like last week before I left for work.
You're getting soft. Okay. Right there. No, I'm kidding. I mean, what's interesting is I've been in 2-day forever. I never even changed it. But if you're listening to this and you're getting on these listings, right, you might not be getting the buy box share you want to be. If you're seeing other people getting buy box share and a listing FBM, you probably can too. What's cool is that to become accustomed to that, right, to see if FBM people are getting the buy box, you want to go on Keepa and go to data and then buy box stats and look at the FBA column right there as well. Under the buy box where it says new (5) right there, you can click in and see the delivery dates of different sellers. And you're going to see that the people who are getting the buy box are the ones that have the closest delivery dates. Now, you have control over that as an FBM seller way better than you do as an FBA seller because you can choose your handling time, right? And I'd highly recommend as many of you guys as possible, if you can, move to 0-day handling time, 2 p.m. cutoff or 12 p.m. cutoff, right? Or 1-day handling time, because that's gonna move your delivery dates closer and it's gonna help you get more buy box share. But it sounds like you were using that in the past, Makayla, to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, back in court, it has been like 0-day handling time since I did it from the time I started last year
Oh, so you
until
did
quarter
have it.
four.
Yeah.
I did till quarter four, and then what like just was I was like I can't do it anymore was whenever I had 500 packages due on a
I've
Monday, and I just
yeah.
couldn't do it.
My peak, I think, in my Amazon account at one time was 900, right there. And you're just like, so many things can go wrong because like ODR is 1%, right? So it's like the post office could just not scan all of this stuff, and it is a whole thing. And I look forward to that anxiety this year as well, too. Actually, on that, I'm definitely going back to Pennsylvania to pump that to the moon, basically. But yeah, I think that's like the biggest kind of takeaway is, right? Like the products don't really matter. The data is what matters. And that FBM, you can like completely change your life in terms of how you see this stuff and everything. You guys can see, like you're seeing on the listings, if you're looking, you can see more FBM people. If they're FBM, you can see how long they've been on it. If they've been on it for a month, if their stock count's going up and down, or if they have the red max order limits on, you know they're making money on stuff too, because they're trying to hide how much stock they have from it as well. With that, yeah, mistakes I've made definitely back in the day, 2 years ago, especially, I was only FBM. So I could have made way more if I was FBA. I don't know why I was like that, but I just was. And then definitely like you learn in retrospect, like I am just disgusted that I never sold shin guards. Like disgusted. Looking at it's like, how did I miss that? Right. Nice thing is I know exactly how I missed it. And I wasn't using Keepa product finder, because otherwise I would have seen what was going up by 50%, what was going up by 100%, right? Then I would have been able to take advantage of that as well. Gary, you have any thoughts on just different types of products people should be looking at as well?
Yeah, I mean, a backpack, clothes actually, all like the standard clothes are going to go up, like sweatshirts, sweatpants, backpacks. Crayola is a big brand, all that sort of stuff. And like we said before, don't necessarily pigeonhole yourself into a type of product. Just let the data dictate where you're looking, right? Let the storefronts that were successful last year dictate where you're looking. I just noticed that her Oregon Prep Center has Nike hat. That's the vibe.
That's fine.
That's such a vibe. FBM question: How did you handle all like the customers? Oh, I didn't get the package on time. Yada yada yada. Because I'm sure that's a question that, or at least a worry of a lot of sellers heading into the volume season this year.
Yeah, I have like a low tolerance for scammers and stuff like that. So like when I start out, I'm pretty aggressive. I send an email basically telling them like, hey, we are gonna like open a case with the police and stuff. Like if somebody's like a porch pirate, like I'm like dead serious. I'm like, I'll contact the USPS and I will get the coordinates, or UPS, I'll get the coordinates. And most of the time, it seems like people don't.
So
they don't respond.
I call people bluffs like crazy. Typically, I just won't respond. I'll make them follow up with me, right? And that's another one of those things where like you're supposed to respond within 24 hours, but like I'll typically just call people's bluffs and make them follow up with me.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah, just give them heck. Don't just be like, oh, okay, here's your refund or whatever. Or I'll send you a new one. Like play hardball with them. Like don't just give up real easily, because a lot of these people, what I found out, they're obviously just being stupid and they're just trying to get stuff for free, or B, like the carrier just delivered it late, or maybe they delivered to the wrong address. Maybe it's down the road from them. Maybe it's behind their house or whatever. It's at a different door or not in the right mailbox. And then they find it within like a few days. So like I try to give them some time, so that way if it does come late, that they can find it in that period before I do eventually give them their money back or whatever.
Or if they live in an apartment complex, maybe like the person didn't bring it to their door or whatever.
Yeah,
there's a lot of different cases.
Yeah, and what you want to do too is, for anyone listening, you want to encourage them to open up an A to Z claim, because as long as you're shipping stuff on time, you're protected. And it's interesting, Amazon actually takes the L on that stuff too. Right there, is that a Celsius or a White Claw, Garrett? Oh,
of course it's a Celsius.
Dude, I like Logan thought it was a white. And for context, this is 1:05 p.m. It's what 10:05 a.m. Yeah, okay, out in Oregon. right there, a little Celsius
Dude,
action.
I hate off topic. I hate how similar they look because I get like self-conscious drinking one while I'm driving. Because it's
Oh.
like,
True.
you know what I'm saying?
True.
Like I could be driving, drinking a Celsius, and I want people to think I'm pounding a White Claw as I'm driving down the road.
That's hilarious. Back to the customer service FBM side of things. It's actually really not that much work though. You know what I mean? It can be knocked out in like 5 minutes a day. Like, I mean, I got people who are commuting 45 minutes each way telling me they don't want the hassle of customer. I'm like, my brother in Christ, like the sky is falling. Like what, come on, man. Like you need this, dude. Like, or at least, and hey, that's, I guess being willing to do that stuff is why we win. And
Are you doing any sort of real back to school volume this year, or is it pretty much because I know you're pretty much wholesale, right?
Yeah. I actually am doing mostly back to school, like FBM stuff. Like
can't say no to it.
I'm
Yeah,
not,
I feel it.
I'm not, yeah, I'm not gonna pass up the opportunity. I don't know. I'm just trying to like, honestly, I'm not trying to do like major like revenue. I'm just trying to make the most profit I can. So like,
Right.
even if I do like 100K and I make 20% net, I'd rather do that than do 200K and make 5% or
Yeah.
whatever. Like you know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter to me anymore. Like
Especially when you're
I care about
touching
the
each of
profit.
those products, right? It's a
Yeah.
whole lot
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. I want to
You get
maximize
equity, yeah.
maximize.
Yeah, and you learn because now you have the choice, right? Where you have a lot of OA opportunity, right? You have a lot of wholesale opportunity if you want. You have a lot of opportunity with other business, right? And you've gotten to that point where you can optimize down. And people want to optimize, pick and choose. I made a video about this for Twitter this morning. Like, especially with like the whole returns argument, it's like people that are doing 100 to 300K a month in rev are telling people who do 5 to 10K a month in rev, like, oh no, like returns aren't worth the hassle. It's like, no, they're not worth the hassle for you because you have the choice where you got tons of stuff you can buy. When you're new, it's insanity to not buy a 60% ROI shit, right?
Yeah.
When whatever, your returns are going to lower the ROI by 11%, but you're still going to make 50% and you're getting 6% cash back, right? And it's just a lead that's going to build confidence and have a lot of intangible benefits too. I think that makes a lot of sense. And you know, the nice thing is now, you know, we all have choice where we can optimize down with that stuff and everything, which is cool. I'm trying to think, what are some other back to school questions I've been getting a lot? Oh, last day to send an FBA inventory. Curious your guys' thoughts on this. I'm just telling people there's really no cutoff. I mean, you can see on Keepa charts, like stuff pumps until like it's September in some cases. However, for higher competition stuff, the peak is going to be by far August 5th to the 20th. Right there. So personally, I think it makes absolutely no sense to even consider FBAing something August 10th when you could simply sell it in the next 2 hours FBM.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that rather than, you know, because FBM de-risks you completely because it removes the whole price tag, right? You know, that there's tons of deals going on with OA right now. Like, you know, I'm making videos about them and stuff. And it's like, sure, 2 or 3 weeks from now, there are going to be more sellers. Probably not going to be more sellers 72 hours from now once Adidas delivers that package to you. And you're going to be diligent. You're going to be micro optimized. You're going to be on that, ready to turn it on that day, list it that day, get the repricer on that day. And that's the difference between people who get really, it's just giving a shit. You know what I mean? It's at the end of the day, like, you know, where you put your focus is where you get results. You know?
Or if you really want to live on the edge and feel something, you turn it on before it gets there. That's when you when you start to live life a little bit.
Yeah, and that's the thing though. It's like, especially a lot of popular listings, it's like worst comes to worst, you should go pick it up same day at Dick's Sporting Goods and break even, you know, or make 10%. It's like whatever. You know what I mean? You're still learning, you're still getting revenue, which is teaching you stuff, right? It's giving you a positive feedback loop. Right. I think that's a very, very good thing. But as we finish up here, you know, where we think people should really be putting their focus, I think definitely product finder, price increase searches, 0-day handling time if you can, right? FBMing as much as possible if you can, right? And I'm just curious your guys' thoughts as we finish up here. Just the best things people can do to maximize this.
It was actually interesting. Chris put out a tweet a couple of days ago. He was like, I guess the back to school lists are public info. So he was like, if you're a parent, take your kids back to school list, and that's a BOLO list right there.
Wow, that's a good point. Yeah,
that's smart.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you know, just figure out what's going up in price. You know, Product Finder's going to do it for you. Storefront stock off backpack listings. You know, these people are making money out because the competition's going up, but the price is still going up, right? So we know that wealth is being printed, right? So it's like, you know, just use these clues, right? And then stop being afraid of everyone that's doing Amazon, right? All you guys listening, right? No one's ever heard your voice. No one's ever seen your face, right? Meanwhile, there's a ton of good info being shared between other people who are, building leverage for themselves and making friends online. They're having more fun. They're making more profit, right? They're working less, right? Like we all get to do, after taking this time to compound up and everything. So I definitely, you know what I mean? Like I'll keep saying it every episode, but like you got to be doing that stuff. Like it just makes your life so much easier, right? See, like people say they don't have time to do it. You don't have time not to do it because when you make friends, it's a hell of a lot less work. So it saves you a bunch of time. And it's a lot more fun too.
Speaking of all that, who's been on the timeline a lot is like Pete and his squad.
There we go. Those are my guys. So that's a group
Dre,
chat.
Pete.
That's a group chat I put together. That Flips for Miles Matchmaking Incorporated. Right? I put that group. Those guys are fucking awesome.
I think there's a couple Maxes, Dre, Pete.
Maxes, Peter, Mason, Dre, a couple other guys.
Man, I hope they're still listening. They would appreciate that.
Well, we'll see. A couple of them are smiling right now. I'm like, Max is probably about to FaceTime you right when he hears this. on that. But yeah, those guys are doing numbers. We're gonna do episodes. Yeah, it's good stuff. Thanks for coming on, Makayla. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And then where can people follow you? Prep Center, stuff like that. Where can they check that out?
All of my handles are FBA Makayla, and then our prep center is Oregon Prep Center. So
sweet.
Fantastic.
Cool. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you guys in the next one.